Welcome to the meeting today, the live webinar. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. And today we'll explore why supply chains have become increasingly complex and the challenges organizations face and the practical strategies that can transform complexity from a business burden to a competitive advantage. Yes, that's a fact. Organizations that manage the complexity properly, they actually have an edge over the competition. So before we begin, let's briefly introduce ourselves. I'm Aftab Khan. I've spent about more than 40 years in the industry, and I have worked for many corporations and performed many functions within supply chain management and worked across global companies and borders. And with me, I have today with me Danish Meraj. Danish, you want to speak for yourself?
Yeah, my name is Danish Meraj. I am working in the medical device industry in the last 15 years in different roles, from engineering to quality and supply chain. Um, that's why I have a very holistic view of the complete supply chain, medical device development life cycle, including supply chain.
Thank you very much, Danish. Let's move on. So supply chains, as we know, are already complex. Based on their very nature, they involve vendors, manufacturers, distribution networks, and with all the variety of products that we use today, given that SKU proliferation and locations and third-party manufacturing, we're already dealing with a standard supply chain is already very, very complex. However, if you add further elements, environmental, let me see that we categorize them into 4 categories. What are those factors and how we can deal with that? Take an example of John Deere tractor manufacturing company in the US. They were already planning to move some of the location, start a new location in Mexico, but then the tariffs went up last year, and then that was totally new perspective on their cross-border costing strategy. Changing custom duties and tariffs changed the whole plan. But again, you have to be agile enough to restructure and relook at everything. And that's where the challenge of dealing with complexity comes around. And companies who are more agile, have robust processes to manage complexity, they are in the forefront. As a quick overview, as an example straight out of the Syscom training program, actually, it's a good example that I wanted to show to you. I'll stay focused on very simple factor. This is a very busy screen, but let's look at this. There are 2 manufacturers, A and B, and they're supplying to vast market over there, and they have vendors across the board. Now, being in competition, they buy their products from these 2 vendors, 3 and 4. They both go to the same vendor. Now, being competitors, their marketing strategies, marketing plans need to be very confidential, very secret, because if they're launching a new product, running a price promotion, seasonal activities, time to market, they all need to be very confidential. So this vendor number 3, which is common to both competitors, and then another vendor number 4, they also provide supply to both competitors. So now they need to have procedures, practices in place, regulations and internal regulations, I mean, to build a firewall of information so that things do not cross from one customer's information to another customer. For example, manufacturing schedule, recipes, packaging, promotional activities, the stickers that go on. You cannot have them mixed up. If they mixed up there, then they can be disaster. For example, you are packaging their product and mixing some of the elements for their product, and that can be an issue. So this vendor number 3 happens to have a mediocre, weak firewall. Things have happened in the past. There have been events, incidents. So, but this vendor number 4 has very robust firewall, very immaculate, and nothing has happened in the past year or years before that can cause any concern in the minds of the buyers or manufacturers. So who do you think will be a preferred vendor in the future coming years? This vendor 4 will obviously gain more mileage, have more orders coming in. They'll be more competitive, more successful based on their ability to manage complexity. And that's what we say when we say complexity is a part of business and doesn't have to be complicated. You have to have processes in place to manage complexity. So that's a good example of, in this environment, a company that can manage complexity better than others will be successful in the long run. So we have participants here. Please, if you have any question, you can jump right in or put in the text, or we will have a Q&A session towards the end.